Welcome back to Whitt Acres. Today we are going to be working on the Oscar tank. If you've been following along, you know I went to PetSmart to get a fancy goldfish and they had the wrong fish labeled in the tank, so I ended up buying an Oscar. So now I have an Oscar in this tiny little goldfish pond. So once I figured that out, I had to go out and buy a new larger tank so the Oscar can feel a little bit more at home. He's been pretty happy in this tank so far. He hides under the lily pad, he swims through the sword, and believe it or not, I have 6 comet goldfish in there with him. Now I see him from time to time, way down at the bottom, hiding in the rocks. But they used to just swim freely with him. But once he got a little bit bigger, I think he's grown probably an inch and a half since I've got him. And yeah, they've been scared since. I've been getting a little worried about the goldfish because I haven't seen them in a while. I've only been able to see 1 or 2 at a time instead of all 6. So I'm hoping that they're all in there and still alive. I could pull the goldfish out and put them in my Silicone tank, but I can't get the goldfish out of the tank because they're way at the bottom hiding in the rocks. So I can't even scoop them out with a net. So the only way I can figure it out is to go ahead and take the Oscar out, get him in his tank, and then get the goldfish out after that. I've been taking some of the decor out of the pot here. I've been taking a lot of the river rock out for the Silicone tank and just to open up more swimming space here in this pot because it's kind of a small pot. It's only 20-25 gallons, which is really small for an Oscar, but he's still a baby, so I'm working on it. I have a stock tank that I'm going to be moving the Oscar into for his new home, and I have a 40-gallon tub for the goldfish to go into. There's a couple things I need to do before I can get the Oscar tank set up, and we're going to go through that today. Puppy, what are you doing, bud? You smell something? What do you smell? On my goldfish pond right now, you can see this bamboo stick. That is coming from this 5-gallon bucket bog filter that I built custom with some river rock gravel and pea gravel. So it's been the only filter for this goldfish pond for, I don't know, a month or 2 now. It's been working out great. So I will be moving this filter down into the basement whenever I move the goldfish in, and it'll continue to be the filter system for the pond. But I have another one that I'm going to be using for the Oscar. Now it doesn't look like too much right here, but this is my dog pole. And you can see it kind of went green, which is just fine. But I got my dog pole hooked up to a bog filter. And this black tote, I have a video on how I made this, so you can go back and check that out. But this is the filter system, and it's been working out pretty well. You can see it's got plenty of algae in there, which is just natural, no problem there. And under this, I have this here for some shade. I don't see him right now. There's a little bullfrog living in here somewhere. Through that charcoal filter pad there. He uses that as a lily pad, so he's been living in here for a while. And then I have another fountain pump attached to my filter box there to add some circular current. It's been working out pretty well. So what I'm going to do is shut this down and move this into the basement where I'm going to have the Oscar stock tank, and this is going to be the main filter system for the Oscar tank. It's been running for months now, so it's got a nice healthy amount of good bacteria in there, and I'll probably clean it out. It's not too bad in there actually, so I'll give it a little clean out. I'll have to drain some of the water because it's going to be real heavy to move, but that is going to be the main filter system for the Oscar stock tank, and the dog pole will be disassembled for the winter. I'm also going to be using this filter box for a pond. It's just an intake box, so it has a pump down in the bottom of the box, and then it has mechanical filtration systems, filter pads at the top, so the water has to go through all the pads and then get pumped up into the bog filter. It goes into the bottom of the bog filter where I have a void space and large river rock, and then all the water will have to upflow through the different layers and different sizes of stone before it can finally come through one more filter pad. You can see how dirty that one is, and then finally flow back into the pond. I think it's going to work pretty good because Oscars are pretty dirty fish. They tend to eat and poop a lot, so the bigger your filtration system, the better. Plus, I want to build an actual large koi pond, so this is just a test to see how well the bog filter works. I like to do little tests before I do big tests. Here is the stock tank that I'm planning on putting the Oscar in. This is a county line. I got it from Tractor Supply. It's 2 foot by 4 foot by 2 foot, I think. Yeah, 2 by 2 by 4. So it's going to be a good volume of water. I got a large sponge filter right here. Well, this is just the casing of it, but I have one ready because I'm going to need a large sponge filter for aeration. If you're going to put some oxygen into the water, you might as well put it on a sponge filter so it can filter as well. And then I got a little heater that's going to keep it nice and warm because it's a South American or Central American cichlid. So he wants to be in about 77 degrees water. So we're going to have a heater for him. This is the goldfish pond, and we'll do a separate video on this. The sponge filter I have that goes onto that one is sitting in my shibunkin pond. Right there's the sponge, and there's the shibunkin. But yeah, that sponge is sitting in here so it can soak up a lot of beneficial bacteria and kind of jumpstart the cycling process before I put it in the Oscar tank. So the issue I have right now is this air hockey table. This air hockey table is in the way. Once I get that out of there, I'll be able to build up a little stand behind the stock tank and get the bog filter in place. The bog filter is going to spill over just the same, I think. It's just going to pour straight in. I might even have it pour into the side over here, pour into one end, and then put the sponge filter on the other end maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I gotta get this air hockey table out of here first. So this tank is 24 inches tall to the lip. So that means I need to put my bog filter spout, overflow spout, at least 24 and a smidge up behind there. The spout, as it sits right now, is about 8.5 inches to the bottom of the spout. So if I'm doing my math right, I'm gonna need to have a 15.5 inch base to get that to be flush with the thing. So about 16 inches of base. I have these buckets I got. So I want to see if these are gonna work. See how tall this bucket is. So we have 15.25 inch bucket. So I think I can still use these buckets, but what I'm gonna do, use something like this, and I'm gonna put it across 2 buckets for the tank to sit on, and that will give me another just over 1/2 inch. Oh, there you are. That will give you another 1/2 inch. So I'll be at 15.75. And then for the bottom of the buckets, I'm probably going to make a base. This may be something like this. So you can see what I'm seeing. Thinking about taking this board. It's kind of a 2x4, but it's ripped. So cut the board in half, and then I can take this one, put it behind so the buckets are level, and then I'll put this plywood across, set the bog filter on top, and I think that's going to give me my depth. This is all going to be behind the stock tank, so you're not going to see it, and I think that's going to work perfect. Going to be a nice sturdy base and free. Alright, here it is. I got the board cut, the bucket's in place. It's perfect size for that bottom board. And then this one's a little bit wider, but that's fine because I can just use it as a table back there, which will work just fine. So if we measure this now, it is a 6.5 inch difference until the lip. So my spout will be 2 inches above the lip pouring in. If I don't like the sound, I'll just put a little down pipe on it, but we'll see. As long as it's going to flow into the tub. So now I just have to put the intake box into the bottom, run the tubing up to the back. It's all ready to go. Just got to get rid of that air hockey table. I'm going to use natural play sand as my substrate for the Oscar tank because they like to dig around and play. So what I need to do with this play sand, it is pre-washed and screened, but there's still a lot of particulates left in here. So I'm going to dump this into one of these 5-gallon buckets and rinse it out with the hose for a good long time. So I'm going to take this fountain pump I have in here for circulation. I'm going to take that, drop it into the snorkel of the bog filter, and pump it into my flower bed so it can empty all the water out of it, so to make it lighter to move. Alright, the air hockey table's gone, and I got the bog filter in place. You can see it's still drained. There's barely any water in it. I want to get this filled back up with water and keep the bacteria alive in there. With all the gravel and stone and everything I have in there, it seems to be about a 9-gallon tub of water. I didn't actually want to overflow it because I'm going to have to dry all that up now, so I can silicone the bottom of the tub just to make sure it doesn't leak once I get everything in there. If I put everything in there and it starts to leak, then it's a big problem. So now I got some water in the bog filter. It'll be good until I can get it up and running again once the tub's ready. I'm using the Aqueon silicone aquarium sealant, 100% silicone, and it says allow 48 hours before filling the aquarium with water. So I'm going to let it go. I got that whole bottom seal done. Can't even tell when you look in there, and once the substrate goes in, you'll never see it. So I'm gonna let this go ahead and dry, leaving that towel in there in case any drips come out of that spout. But I'm gonna have to leave this go for 48 hours now before I can fill it up and get the pumps running. Use my little fountain pump, put it in there with a little bit of a hose so it can still bubble and create some oxygen, keep my beneficial bacteria alive. So I have to leave it like this for 48 hours until the silicone is cured. It's been 48 hours and now I'm ready to decorate and fill up my tub here. I added a clean layer of gravel all the way across the top because some of it shifted and fell down in between the bigger rocks as we carried it and refilled it up. I'm going to shut that fountain pump off while I do the decorating, but I have my sand here that's already rinsed out. I got some pea gravel that's rinsed out. Then I picked up some fake plants at the big box store to throw in there because Oscars tend to beat up on planted aquariums, so I got some fake ones just for some coverage. I also picked up, where'd they go? In here, a 90 and a 45, and I'm hoping that this is gonna fit, oh yeah, right onto there and get a little downflow. And then what I'm thinking is putting a nipple, which is just a length of pipe between two connectors, right there, and I'll be able to get the water all the way down to the water level, which I'm thinking is going to be about this rim here, because I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top because I don't have a lid and I don't want my Oscar jumping out. So I'm going to need to cut a length of pipe about that long so I can have some directional flow in here once the bog filter's up and running. But I'm gonna wait on that until I have my water level. I don't want to cut it too high or low, so I'll just wait until I have my water level, and that'll get done then. I don't know how I'm gonna decorate this tank yet. I'm just gonna be winging it, so I'll just set it up for a time lapse and we'll get this thing decorated out, and then I'll start filling her up. I think it's coming along pretty well with the decorations and all, except for the leak. So we're at about 40 gallons of water in the tub, and you can see it's leaking. So it looks like I have to drain everything out of the tub. Darn. I got my suction hose out here and I'm starting to drain it if I can. Get some vacuum going. There we go. But I think I found the problem. On the back side is the drain. And I thought I siliconed it on the inside, but it's pushing through. So I got the silicone back out, but I gotta get the water level lower than that drain, because it's just way too much pressure pushing out. So I'm gonna drain her down, get that sealed up, and then might work from there. Puppy. So far it's holding. I'm at about 60 gallons because I have a gauge on my spigot outside, so I'm keeping track of how much water's going in. So with all the substrate and everything, I'm at about 60 gallons right now, so we're gonna keep filling it up to about 75 gallons, and then I'm gonna let it sit for a while and make sure all the seals and everything are holding, we don't have any leaks. I got 75 gallons in the tub now. I'm going to hook up the intake pump down below and make sure the bog filter system's working properly. Have to close the check valve till the water gets through. Should be good after that. Might have to raise that check valve. We're going to try this again. I redid the connection, made it tighter, and I also decided to put it down into the bog filter, so that way if it does leak, it'll go into the container and not make a mess. Kind of worked. Went into a container, but once you get the pressure through the hose, the check valve will work. That is so I have that so if the pump ever goes out, it doesn't drain the tub. It'll suck air and break the siphon before the tub gets drained. So if we take a look into here, You can see that flow. See the plants flowing. And that's going to create a current going right around the tub and back to the intake. I think my sponge filter is going to go right in there and behind those plants, and it's turning into a nice, pretty nice tank here. Alright, I think we got things working now. We got flow coming out of the bog filter. Nice gentle flow going in right there, creating a little bit of a current going around. And that should bring everything back around to the sponge filter and the intake box that I had to weigh down with some stones because it wanted to keep floating up. But other than that, everything seems to be working. Yeah, my hose connection's still dripping, but it's inside the bog filter, so now it's not a problem. I've got my wires tied up. Might tighten those up a little bit more. And the biggest thing is I got a dry paper towel. So that is awesome. No leaks, and the tank's coming along. I got my water conditioner in. I got the beneficial bacteria in, and it's ready to just start flowing. I'm gonna let this cycle for a little while, get all this new water cycled up through the bog filter and all the bog filter water cycled through. I netted out some of the mosquito larvae that was still coming through. Probably have to keep a lookout for them until I get some fish in here. Everything seems to be working now. Got the sponge filter creating some oxygen. I got the outflow pipe, the overflow pipe of the bog filter running down here, directionally pushing some flow around the tub, creating a little bit of a current. And then I think the scape's looking pretty good. Got the cave form, got all the substrate in there, little island. I'm going to be adding more stone from the pond that he's in right now, and those will have a lot of beneficial bacteria on them. And this bog filter is a month old, so it's been running with a ton of beneficial bacteria as well. Same with the intake base sponges, and it has the bio balls in there. And I've been running that sponge filter in, or I've been sitting that sponge filter in my Shebunkin pond for at least a week or so now, and that's also been collecting some beneficial bacteria. So I think we are pretty much ready to add fish, but I'm gonna let this flow for a little while to make sure all my leaks are holding up, or all my patches rather. Paper towel is still dry. I want to add the heater, and then this will be ready to add some fish. Even though I have all the filter media from an existing pond, I wanted to let this pond cycle for a while before I add some fish. So stick around for another video. Hey pup. Stick around for another video whenever I do add the fish. Let me know down below if you'd consider doing an indoor pond, something like this, instead of doing an aquarium. This did end up being a little cheaper than an actual aquarium. I probably did this whole setup for less than $250, and that would be probably about as much as the aquarium and all the heater and everything. So this was a little bit of a cheaper way to get the fish into a suitable amount of water so he can grow up. But I will be doing a fish adding video, so go ahead and subscribe down below and you'll be notified whenever I get that video out. I might be adding a friend for the Oscar, so stick around and see what that'll be. That's all for this one. You can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching.